Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Village of Bartlett, Counties of Cook, DuPage, and Kane. Please call the roll.
Mike Werden,
Here.
Linda Hansen, George Koziel,
Here.
Joe Bano,
Here.
Bob Vaccaro,
Here.
Jennifer Rasmussen. Here. Thank you.
Okay, you have before you the minutes from the August 3rd meeting. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Bob, seconded by George. Please call the roll.
George Koziel,
Yes.
Joe Bano,
Abstain.
Bob Vaccaro,
Yes.
Jennifer Rasmussen,
Yes.
Mike Werden.
Yes. Before we get started, I just want to make mention that tonight would have been the 70th birthday of T.L. Ahrens, who was a longstanding public servant here in Bartlett. She was an outstanding trustee for a number of years and involved in many, many things. So I just want to make that a portion of the record. First case on the agenda is Balance Chiropractic. Are the petitioners here? Okay, please come forward. And if we have people other than the petitioners who are going to speak during the public hearing motion or portion, we have little sheets to fill out, and then you don't have to be sworn in separately. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm the evidence you're about to give is only the whole truth? Okay, do we have the evidence of the mailings, the newspaper, and the picture of the sign?
Yes, we do.
Mark those exhibits A, B, and C. Please state your name and address for the record.
Julie Salyers, home address or business?
Whichever.
2000 West Main Street, Unit H, St. Charles, Illinois, J&B Builders.
Robin Ackerman, 776 West Bartlett Road, Bartlett, Illinois.
Okay, go ahead and present your case.
We are here,
Basically, we are looking for a variation for a 30-foot reduction from the required 50-foot front yard building setback, an 18-foot reduction from the required 50-yard parking setback, a 10-foot reduction from the required 20-foot side yard from the southern property line building and parking setback, a 10-foot reduction from the required 20-foot side yard, which is the northern property line, parking setback, and a 25-foot reduction from the required 30-foot rear yard setback.
Okay, and how, if everything goes as you're hoping it's planned, when do you hope to move in there?
Basically, the project includes demolishing the existing building so that Dr. Ackerman can move her practice to a new building. There'll be commercial space on the front of the building and 2 residential units along the back of the building. We're placing the building closer to the roadway to match the TOD plan. And obviously, the building is shown there. It's a prairie-style building. Most of the finished space will be on the first floor. There will be some second-floor space for the 2 back residential units. The bottom of the building will have a stone finish, and the green upper portions will be a cement board siding. And then we'll also put various accents on the building, decorative accents to complement the prairie-type style of the building. Parking will be at the rear of the building as well as along the side of the building. That's the front park, or the rear parking, and then the side parking. The existing trees located along Main Street, there's 4 large existing trees. We will be we're going to save those. So pretty much the existing curb line where those trees are will remain. Currently, there's an entry and a curb cut in front of the building. We're going to be eliminating that curb cut so that there will only be one entrance into the building, and we will landscape that front part along Main Street where that curb cut currently exists. So all that is all brand-new landscaping along that elevation of the building.
And staff is okay with eliminating the one curb cut?
Yes, actually, that is a recommendation from the TOD plan, is to eliminate some of the curb cuts and combine them along Main Street and South Bartlett Road.
Any questions from the board?
Not a question, but a statement. I was excited when I saw what this was going to be, and even more excited when I saw that you'd made comments about building it with the thought of the downtown Todd plan. I sat on that committee for a year, so it's something that I'm really excited to see. I hope that this project becomes a seed for what can happen in the downtown in the future.
Thank you.
When I first started reading the petition, I was initially taken aback by the large setback variations that were being asked for. But as I continued to read and saw what the original setbacks for that property are, it became very evident, especially for a commercial development, that there was no way to put any building of any substance on that lot. And, you know, then as I continued to read, much like George, this is exactly what the TOD was looking for and is meant to do. And it's very refreshing to see a successful business person in town stay in town and expand in town. And I just think the whole thing is very, very good.
Yes, I think the building design looks very attractive, and glad to see something like that. It's not that this one is an eyesore by any means, but I mean, this is a lot more attractive even. Any other comments before we open up to the public?
Yes, I have a question in regards to how far out this building is going to stick out versus the other properties along that side of the street.
The building to the south, you can kind of see it on the site plan on the PowerPoint, that's about 25 feet. So what they're showing, is that right, 20?
Can't read it. 20.
The dash line is 20, correct. So the covered porch is at about 25 feet currently, so their building will be at 20 feet.
It looks like it's sticking out quite a ways in the front, you know, versus the rest of the buildings along that street. I have a concern with that.
Across the street, CVS is fairly close. If you drive through Wheaton, Glen Ellen, some of the nicer downtown communities, you'll see that's kind of the goal. Even though if we're looking in past time, we'll see older buildings, maybe eventually as we rehab some of these buildings of that downtown development plan of coming towards the front so that you see commercial when you come downtown. So our goal was to kind of keep in line with some of the more modern downtown communities and bring Bartlett into the future. My idea was to originally renovate, but obviously, well, many of you know I bought that building almost 2 years ago. It's sitting vacant. We're paying for a vacant building. This was our next plan.
And in the TOD plan, under number 9 in the memo, it says this project accomplishes the objective of the TOD not only with the updated architecture of the building, but also by bringing the building closer to the street frontage, locating a majority of the parking to the rear of the building, and adding a bike rack and eliminating a curb cut. So that's part of the TOD plan, is to bring the buildings closer to the street and the parking behind the buildings.
Rather than giving all these large variations, why is it that we have these zoning ordinances that require such a large setback in the downtown area? I mean, shouldn't this be looked into and have those setbacks changed?
Our downtown area doesn't have a separate zoning ordinance for downtown and setbacks. We don't have that type of overlay district.
But that is the next chapter that's coming up after tonight's meeting. The next chapter, staff begins to work on all 4 of the commercial districts, and the B1 district is one of those districts, and we're going to take a hard look at what the setbacks are and should be in downtown, and they could change.
One of the things, what's unique about this property and why they did it is most of the downtown was Zone B1 or PUD, and the B1 districts allow for the closer in kind of look and the zero lot line setbacks and the more reduced setbacks and the closer to the street. For some reason, years ago when this was built, and I think it's the V&V Pizza next to it, they zoned it B3, which is not really a typical downtown zoning. It was, the B3 is more of our neighborhood or highway commercial, and the village, when this was built, zoned it B3, and it's kind of been stuck with the B3 zoning. You could have gone through changing the zoning on it, but the variances accomplish the same thing. And with it, as Roberta and Angela said, with the TOD plan, and as the designer and the owner wanted to complement the TOD plan, this was the quickest and easiest way to go. There's been several reiterations on this project, from remodeling the existing building, redesigning, and this was looked at as the best and quickest way to get to the achievement of getting a nice-looking building within the existing zoning.
As I recall, when some of the zoning was changed in 1979, a lot of the B1 was the old historic district, which was older buildings, and this was not considered downtown at that point because we still had some farmhouses along the street. And it pretty much ended at the Village Hall. And that's why a lot of this, I mean, they didn't really envision downtown coming out this far at that time.
And if I could say, Joe, that where you're sitting, this building pushed out from the old Village Hall. We pushed this building closer to the street.
Immensely.
Yes. I don't know if you know what the old Village Hall, where it was placed on the site, it was set back pretty far, and we've pushed this whole building out towards the street.
All right, yeah.
Any other comments? Okay, at this point, I shall open it up to the public. Does anyone in the audience have anything to say? Any further discussion or motions?
I would make a motion to pass along to the village board a positive recommendation for for number 1705, the Balance Family Chiropractic.
Okay, at this point, we have a motion on the floor. At this point, I shall close the public hearing portion. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by George, seconded by Bob to pass on a positive recommendation, and we need to incorporate the findings of fact. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
George Koziel,
Yes.
Joe Bano,
Yes.
Bob Carl,
Yes.
Jennifer Rasmussen,
Yes.
Mike Weirden,
Yes, we shall pass on a positive recommendation to the board, so stay in touch with Angela to find out when it appears on the village agenda. And staff, I appreciate your comments in the case here. Okay, the next item on the agenda is case number 17-21, 1180 Lexington Drive. Are the petitioners present?
Yes.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence you're about to give is only the whole truth?
Yes.
Do we have the evidence of the mailings, the newspaper, and the picture of the sign?
Yes, we do.
Mark those exhibits A, B, and C. Please state your name and address for the record.
Shabazz Hashmi, address is 1180 Lexington Drive, and that's Bartlett, Illinois.
Okay, go ahead and present your case.
Currently, we're on, as you can see, we're on the corner lot of Route 59 and Struckman Boulevard. I'm requesting for a 6-foot fence, so a variation for 2 feet. So the fence won't go all the way to, as you can see, and we'll keep the existing landscaping that's on the property line, but the fence won't go all the way to the end. It's going to go to the sewer easement, so it'll be about 15 feet off the sidewalk where the property line ends. We're requesting this as one, being on such a busy intersection as my backyard is, the sound wall doesn't go all the way to the end of my house, leaving us exposed to traffic and just constant traffic with like my little kids and everything. So my whole thing was I wanted to try to close off my backyard and then give us some privacy at the same time. We saw the 4-foot fences in the neighborhood around there, and they just seem too low. And we just really want to close that off and, have a proper backyard. So that was my variation. On top of that, I was going to try to follow the ordinance where you go from the end to the back of the house, but I have a tree over here that doesn't allow me to go straight back. So if I would just do this 6-foot fence from that point, then I'm losing a majority of my backyard anyway. So I'm just trying to see if I can get some kind of compromise where I can meet that and stick with the village ordinance, where I believe a similar situation occurred with another homeowner, and he followed the same rules, where he went to the storm easement where I'm going toward, and then finishing it off.
So you are not on the storm easement?
The storm easement is right on that point, right?
No, the storm sewer easement is 15 feet off the property line. So here's the property line, here's the storm sewer easement, and then his fence is going to be just directly south of that.
I was actually out there and walked around, and you have a very unique situation. And I know because of being on the corner, that sound wall doesn't go all the way, so you don't have the benefit of other neighbors. And you have kind of a unique situation, too, with still the natural, original, wild landscape there along the sidewalk with the trees and the bushes, which makes it, gives you a little bit of privacy. Because when I first saw this with such a huge fence, it's like, oh no, what are they trying to do? But you have such a unique lot situation also. I think this would enhance and make it safer for your property. And the fact that you're not cutting down the trees and bushes, correct?
Correct. We're going to leave those up there. And actually,
Some of them are 3
try to
times higher
maintain,
than the
keep it
fence.
maintained as best as we can, so.
Sure. And of what type of material do you plan to make the fence?
We want to do the PVC, the white fence, so the newer fences that you've been probably seeing around in the last couple of years, so.
They still look nice in 10 years, unlike the
hopefully.
wooden ones that look trashed after a while?
Yeah, no, that's the kind of fence we're trying to get approved.
Good. Any questions from the board?
Just a comment, I'm in agreement with you, Mike. This is a unique situation. Portion of the fence will be hidden by the existing bushes. And because you're on that corner and there's the sound wall, it just seems a logical request.
It is not going to intrude on the vision triangle, and I think it's a very good enhancement. And normally, I would not say that about a 6-foot fence. I'm not usually real wild about those.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. At that location, the noise has to be pretty unbearable, I would guess, at times. And with the bushes staying there during 9 months of the year when there's leaves on the bushes,
Correct.
a lot of the fence won't even be seen, but it will still help buffer the noise.
Yeah. That's the goal for us, and just keeping the yard closed off for, those little 2 guys back there, so.
Yeah.
So there's a fence on the other side of the house?
Correct. It's my neighbor who's actually in the audience, Paul over here. So he has a 5-foot fence because he has a pool in his yard. So that will stay. We're going to leave his fence, and then I'm going to close the yard off with the remainder of this fence.
Any further comments? At this point, we shall open it up to the public. Does anyone in the audience have anything to say? Okay. Come to the microphone, please. And make sure you fill out one of the slips. You can do that after you speak. Please state your name and address for the record.
Paul Flaughter, 1182 Lexington Drive. I'm the neighbor. I've been there 28 years. And when I first moved in, there was a 5-foot fence on the other side of those the trees and the bush you see there.
Along Struckman?
Along Struckman, yes.
Okay.
And of course, they wore out, and one of the previous owners took it down. And now I'm seeing a family come in here and to a house that's been abandoned for 2 years and started making a home. So it's good to see that. And especially like you say with that corner with Route 59 with the sound barrier fence, I'm next door and I hear a lot of noise. I'm sure they hear more. So anything that would help them, and like he says, to have a safe place for those kids to be, and a little privacy would be great.
Well, and you have the benefit of somebody's walking along 59, somebody can't just come in because they're not going to scale
Right
that
now,
wall.
yeah, that's.
And he doesn't have that privilege because it doesn't
No, he
go all the
doesn't.
way. Right.
Yes. I just wanted to say that it's good to see them there, and I'm
Thank
all
you.
for the fence.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Any further comments or motions
I'd like to make a motion.
to approve?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the proposal. At this point, I shall close the public hearing portion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Jennifer, seconded by Bob or Joe? Joe. For approval. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Urbano,
Yes.
Bob Carl,
Yes.
Jennifer Rasmussen,
Yes.
Mike Weirden,
Yes.
George Kosio.
Yes.
Okay, we shall pass on a positive recommendation to the village board. Stay in touch with Angela to find out when it appears on the agenda. Next item on the case is case number 17-11, Rana Meal Solutions, plant number 2. Are the petitioners present? Please come up to the microphone. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence you're about to give is only the whole truth? Do we have for the record the mailings, the newspaper, and the picture of the sign?
We do.
Mark those exhibits A, B, and C. Please state your name and addresses for the record.
My name is Joe Ivanelli. Address is 700 Springer Drive, Lombard, Illinois.
My name is Sal Trupiano, 550 Spitzer Road, Bartlett.
Jennifer Oslager, 1152 Spring Lake Drive, Itasca.
Okay, go ahead and present your case.
So Rana Meal Solutions is proposing a 325,000 square foot building next to their existing plant in the Brewster Creek Business Park. And we are seeking 2 variances. One is for the fence height, and one is for a reduction in the total parking count.
I'm sorry, reduction in what?
In the total parking count.
Okay.
The fence height, we're going to propose an 8-foot chain link fence, which would exceed the height by 4 feet for security purposes. And the proposed parking count is 393, whereas the required number is 403.
So not a huge reduction.
Correct.
Okay.
The main reason for the reduction in parking is a lot of the operations are going to be automated. There's not going to be too many employees. They have an excess for the number of employees that they're going to have, which you don't know the number off the top of your head.
It should be around 370, 380 employees. But this is after 5 years, because in the beginning, the building gets open in stages, so
Okay.
5 years.
And don't you have some regulation or something that require the security fencing?
Yeah, with the USDA, we do
Okay.
have a regulation that we need to have security guard on premises 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we have to be completely enclosed, the property does.
This was another one, when I saw the first thing about an 8-foot fence, I was in hysterics, and I thought, well, what are they doing out there? So I went out there, and Dimitri actually gave me a tour. They do have a black 8-foot fence along the existing property right now. And again, it's a chain link fence. You can see through it. You know if somebody's on the other side. Low maintenance, high visibility. You can, very safe. And so I think this is just going to continue that on, and it'll be an enhancement to our business park out there. Any comments from the board?
Like Mike, I was concerned when I first saw the fence height request. I tend not to like tall fences, but there's no doubt in my mind that this is the perfect thing to do. It's logical, it's consistent with what you have, and the beauty of it is from a small distance, you won't see that it's there.
Correct. I'm confident you could take a picture with your camera across the way and still see everything perfectly well with the fence you have up there now. Anyone else?
Yeah, I wasn't concerned with the fence, I guess, but with the parking, now you currently use a temporary lot, is that right, for your current facility? Is that lot on the land that's going to be developed?
No, we use the parking lot across the street, it's the old Dania building.
Yeah, yes, it is. The temporary lot that has the, that you set up next to the building here.
Right, the
That-
red one from.
Yes, that's where the new building is going, yes.
Right, that's what.
But they also have they have several other parking areas in the park.
Yeah, so obviously, since we removed that area, because we're building a new building, we needed to put those people at the Dania parking temporarily. Once we build this building, some of those people are going to park also on this property.
Okay,
Only about 50 cars, 40 cars.
So you've made accommodations for the parking you're going to lose during the construction. I mean, afterwards, with the new large lot, even at 5 years when you have, your total number of employees that you anticipate, I don't see a parking issue. A number of parking spaces, wouldn't be an issue. I was just concerned that some accommodations were made if you were losing that temporary parking.
Yes. Also for our present building, a lot of the packaging part of the building is not automated yet, which we have in plans for the next 2 years of providing packaging equipment that's going to eliminate some workers, which those workers we're planning on training them and providing new jobs for them in the new building. So we're not going to really eliminate those workers in the beginning. We will give them other jobs. But we are going to eliminate some of those workers, at least to help out the parking issue we have in the present building.
Now, is the new facility also going to house your North American headquarters? Did I read that?
Yes, that's correct. Right now, we're in Oak Brook, and hopefully in a year and a half, 2 years, we'll be able to transport them to the new location. So we're going to get rid of our Oak Brook location, and this will be the main headquarters.
Well, that's real exciting.
Yeah, it is. I can't wait, believe me.
This was a great development for Bartlett initially. I remember, I believe it was, you were looking at a facility in Pennsylvania also, or
So we're looking in Pennsylvania, we're looking also in Arizona and also in California, which after we build this one, we are still planning on going out there. A lot of our food-based customers are in the West Coast, and it's going to save us a lot of money in transportation by building another facility out there. But that's 5 years from now, so.
well, it's again nice to see a local business doing well and expanding in the village.
And bringing
Happy to be here.
corporate home.
The request for parking seems to me to be realistic and doable. Staff, make a comment?
The petitioner has actually said that it will meet their needs, as you heard, for at least 5 years, so we would concur.
I've liked what I've seen out there all along from day one.
Yes.
And congratulations on being successful, and may this just continue.
And you have congenial guards out there that assist and don't have attitudes like some places.
Yeah, no, we definitely like to keep a clean ship, and we make sure we're very organized, very clean. The building is always safe, and we like to keep a good-looking business for the community. So that's what we're here for.
Any other comments? Okay, at this point, we shall open it up to the public. Does anyone in the audience have anything to say? Any further discussion or motions?
I will make a motion to send a positive recommendation to the village trustees for case number 1711, the Rana Meal Solutions, Plant 2.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor at this point. I shall close the public hearing portion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by George, seconded by Bob. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Carl,
Yes.
Jennifer Rasmussen,
Yes.
Mike Weirden,
Yes.
George Cosio,
Yes.
and Joe Bano.
Yes.
Okay, once again, we shall pass on a positive recommendation to the board. Stay in touch with Angela to find out when it appears on the agenda. Good luck with everything. Next item on the agenda is case number 17-17, 802 East Devon Avenue addition. Are the petitioners here? Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that do you solemnly affirm that the evidence you're about to give is only the whole truth? Do we have the 3 items we need, the mailings, the newspaper, the picture of the sign?
Yes, we do.
Mark those exhibits A, B, and C. Please give your names and addresses for the record.
Dimitri Poulokefalos Enterprises, 27 Cutters Run, South Barrington.
Charles Schwartz, SKI Architecture, 1645 West Ogden Avenue, Chicago.
Art Colada, SKA Architecture, 915 West 58 and Lagrange.
Okay, go ahead and present your case.
The property at 802 East Devon Avenue is a office warehouse facility. We are requesting a variation in the I-1 light industry zoning district to reduce the number of parking spaces from the required 140 to 95. We have 4 individual tenant spaces. The furthest one to the left, the south, is renovated, and the 3 to the north are added on. So we have 4 total. We've got 13 loading docks. Is that true? Yes. And we are potentially just trying to reduce the number of required parking spaces. We have the flexibility to add more based on the final use of the tenant spaces by the individual owner, by the individual users.
What we've seen already, I think, is such a major improvement of what was there. That building never was real attractive, and it looks a lot nicer so far what we see along Devon Avenue. And this was another one. I was out there last Saturday and met Dimitri, and he walked me around and showed me some of the things and some of the plans that he had, and it was quite impressive. I think the foundation was still very sound without cracks all over, and the property is actually a lot bigger than what you see from Devon Avenue. You don't realize how much space is back there. Any further comments?
I agree with Mike. It was, I felt the old building, when Main Steel was there, and then after they vacated it, I mean, it just was a pit. It just was not attractive one, at all. So seeing this nice building going in, I think is a great improvement for that site.
Oh, you can't help but attract more tenants when you have something that looks nice and has the visual street appeal.
Regarding the parking space reduction, is the parking agreement for the future, I guess the landmark future parking agreement, is that complete?
It's not completed yet, but it is required to be completed before the village board meeting, and then we also have to record it in the recorder's office. So basically, if they start using parking like on the street, which obviously is not permitted on Devon Avenue, then the village can force them to put the extra spaces in. Luckily for them, it's already in existing impervious area, so they would just have to install the 2 parking islands on the north side of the property and just stripe. So the area is already there for the parking in case they do need it, depending on the tenants and the uses.
So I don't see the parking as an issue at all. I mean, there's space to come within code, within the ordinance if needed, and with the agreement, I personally don't have a problem at all with that.
That definitely helps with the agreement, and this is so minor percentage-wise compared to a lot of parking variations we see, or the so-called parking in the side yard or something, which means they eliminate the landscaping.
And the petitioners come a long way for the different variations. We started with a lot of variances, and we've gotten it down to just this one. So they've changed a lot of things on this plan.
Very good.
I have to say that I think this is a great improvement in that area. It's exciting to see that there can be additional tenants, and maybe someday we can look to the east and say, that's kind of our eastern Brewster Creek. It'd be really nice to see you be able to have tenants quickly. And I like the idea of banking the parking spaces. We've done that in other areas, and I think it's just terrific. I'd rather see green than asphalt, especially if it's empty asphalt.
Yes.
So good idea.
And I just wanted to note, the petitioner does have some bigger drawings in case some of the audience members wanted to see it a little closer. And then another thing, the building will not go any closer to the western property line, so it will not go towards the residents, and they are still proposing to have a fence here as well. And something unique about this building, obviously, it will be a brick around all four sides, but their truck loading it's obviously all on the east side, but it's actually a garage door. So they actually pull in the truck and then they load it from inside. So they theoretically can close the garage door for cold times during the winter, which will also help reduce noise.
Okay. Any other comments before we open it up to the public?
I just want to say I agree with everything that's been said here. That empty building has always been a concern for me because you just never want to see vacant buildings. It's just not a good sign. It's a really nice-looking facility, and I look forward to the fact that we can have some more businesses coming into Bartlett with this new facility.
Yes, yes. Anything else? Okay, at this point, we shall open it up to the public. Does anyone in the audience have anything to say? Okay. One at a time, come up to the microphone, make sure that you fill out the sheets.
Dana Lindstrom. Mark Lindstrom.
Oh. I'm sorry, Jim's gonna, Jim will call him. He's calling off the sheets. Please state your names and address for the record.
Mark Lindstrom and Dana Lindstrom. We're at 776 Dunmore Lane, which is directly behind this facility.
Literally directly behind.
Right.
Okay.
I want to note that your renderings and your site plans don't match. And also, what you submitted, what you sent us as a certified mail, the site plan does not match what was presented by these gentlemen. Okay? And additionally, I'll let my wife, we've been there since 1990, so we've put up with Main Street steel with trucks idling, endlessly for every day, every night, summer, winter, you name it, they've done it. So, but
I guess their petition is the variation for the reduced in parking. So our question is they want a reduction in the parking, so with that reduction.
Can you speak up a little closer to the mic?
With the reduction in that parking, they have a backlog of semis coming in or trucks. Where are they going to go? Like my husband just stated, they do tend to back up along our street, and not only is our house affected, but our neighbors' homes along the back of our house, they idle while they wait for the businesses to open. What they sent us didn't show that many businesses back there. You guys say it's a beautiful building. Yes, what they're doing is beautiful. It is much better looking. But that's multiple businesses they're putting in there. How many semis
and who's going to control that?
Are going to be there? How many businesses? It's a great concern to us. This is our privacy that's being invaded, our peace. We cannot sit in our backyard because of the noise. I mean, right now, it's a disaster back there. We listen to this construction going on. Okay, it's going to end soon, but now we're going to have how many trucks are going to be back there?
What did you get in the mail that was different than what's here?
The site plan is different. The site plan shows the truck parking like in the rendering, but then the site plan you just showed is different. Pull up the site plan, look at the rendering, go back to the rendering.
It's actually on here. So there is.
No, it's not. Look at the position of the trucks. Your
There-
rendering matches what you sent.
There is 6 truck parking stalls right here,
And which way are they facing?
this way,
Okay, now go to your rendering.
east and west,
Which way are they facing? The opposite way.
east and
That's
west.
what I'm saying, and that's what you sent on your,
No, this is the same way,
no, it's not the,
east and west, right?
here's Devon on there.
Yeah,
That's what you sent. Now
Right,
look at
and
your
it's
site
at-
plan. Now the site plan is flipped. But whatever, that's, it's,
so it's hard to see, but I could show you on the bigger one. So there still is like 6 truck stalls here in case they need truck stalls. Now, this car parking is future, so that's where that land banking is. So there's still those 6 truck stalls here. It's just very light in this site plan.
I'm not
So
going to sit
is
here and
there,
argue with you. but
is there going to be a gate
Is there a gate at the front?
at the front?
I noticed, you
preventing
noticed they had
people-
a portico there. Is there a gate there?
Preventing them from coming in?
The petitioner will answer whatever
Yeah.
questions you have, so if you want to
Yeah.
finish all your questions, and then they can answer when everyone's done talking.
And, yeah, so we need to know if, you know, because if they are allowed to come in, park in, behind the building, but then, which will block the sound coming out from,
Which we have no problem.
from us, but it's still, you know, the people then,
But who's
the
gonna- who's
townhomes
gonna
along
monitor
there are
that?
going to hear that. So, yeah,
Now, in the past, we'd call Main Steel when they did that, and they would accommodate us. We'd say, hey, and then they'd, for a couple weeks, the trucks would not be there, and then they'd come back and we'd call them again, and they would take care of it. We never bothered the village with it, so.
Actually,
we
we
have,
did get
we
some
have had
calls.
to. Yeah, yes.
Well, yeah,
We have
probably
had to
from us,
call. We
but
have had to
that's
call the
when they didn't.
police.
But I think what the petitioner's going to tell you is it's between, he's going to either have 1 tenant, or he could have as many as 4 tenants.
And who controls those?
And each one of those tenants, he is the property owner. He owns the building, he owns the property. Each business that goes in there, you could probably call them, you could call the village, you could send the police out, you could send a code enforcement officer out. There's lots of options for you to go through. If there's noise, if there's idling, you know, if there's deliveries, that kind of thing. You can ask the village, police, or the business owners. That's not going to change, just because Main Steel's not there, these are just new tenants.
Right, but no, it's been, you know, nice when they weren't there, because we didn't have the idling trucks.
But property owners have rights, and it is zoned industrial, so.
Well, we, you know, because our homes were built after Main Steel was, you know, there
Right.
wasn't anything we could do about it. Now Main Steel was gone, we have new people coming in, you know, we're existing, we were here first.
He can address the issue with the gate and that kind of thing for you.
Doesn't affect you, you don't have to sleep at night, I do.
Angelique Drafts.
$751 Sterling Court, Bartlett. I have a question. The main reason I was out today was the public hearing notice that I received, and it talked about that there was going to be a discussion with mitigating a wetland. Will that be discussed tonight, or are we only talking about a reduction of the 31% reduction of parking spaces?
The wetland technically is to be discussed next week, but if you have any concerns, I'd like to hear them now in case we need to
Well,
address any.
I don't know how long all of you folks have lived here, but we're on our, I believe it's the 7th year anniversary of our great flood, and Hearthwood Farms was greatly impacted with flood there. So I have a very big concern about what mitigating a wetland means. Mitigating typically means that we're going to be shrinking this, and my street was one of the only streets that remained dry during that entire time, and I'd like to make sure and ensure that that's the case and understand why we're changing the wetland back there when things seem to finally be calmed down. I remember attending a meeting down the hall with Kathy Melchard and Mr. and Mrs. Lincoln Proclamation Day, and it still registers in my mind with the number of people who were here to talk about the damage that the property owners had had. I do have questions to find out whether or not, please, and it does look very nice back there, thank you. I'd like to know if the fence is going to be replaced throughout the back there, and if what that material will be, the height of the fence, and what the projection is for the hours of business. When Main Steel was back there, we had horrific noise. It was terrible. Truly, they were a stamping plant, so it had a lot different, but they kept some really strange hours. It wasn't so much an impact with semis noise as it was with the machinery that was running, but not knowing who these tenants will be and what will still be considered as light industry if the zoning had changed since when Main Steel used to be the owner and now what is currently in there. Thank you.
I think now the Plan Commission will address some of this with the wetlands, right? But as I recall, there was extensive improvement made to the north of that property to store stormwater, correct?
And the engineer is here tonight, so they can address the issue.
Okay.
Len Bischoff and Mary McHugh.
Hi.
I've been a resident of Bartlett.
Address,
I'm
please.
sorry, 784 Dunmore Lane.
Okay.
We're neighbors of Mark and Dana's. We live 2 doors down from them. I've been a resident for 30 years. We've been in our current residence for about 10 years. We're concerned about the noise as well. The situation along Ontarioville Road has become untenable. Apparently, because of the quarries out west, they found a shortcut right along the back of our property down Ontarioville Road, to the Elgin O'Hare, all day long and into the evening. Trucks, dump trucks, cement trucks, all kinds of. So the noise level has gotten to the point, like Mark and Dana had said, that we can't even sit on our decks during the day. It's ridiculous. It's just too noisy. You can't, and it wasn't like that when we first moved in 10 years ago. So it's gotten progressively worse. Now with the Main Steel property, the redevelopment, which we think is a very positive thing for Bartlett. I mean, we agree with you. Like I said, I've been here for 3 decades. We don't have enough industry in this town, never have, and this is a great step forward. But having said that, we're concerned, we have questions. What do the ordinances say in terms of the amount of noise that the property can generate? Is there any kind of a threshold? Are there limitations in terms of the activities? Is it a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week operation? I mean, do we have to listen to this at 2 o'clock in the morning? I mean, my bedroom literally backs up, to that street. And so I guess that those are our main concerns. We want to hear more about that. We're not, obstructionists by any means, but still, we live there. It's, it's our home. You have anything to add? I guess that's basically it. Thank you.
I guess some of the truck traffic isn't, they're going to go any number of ways. There's not a whole lot we can do about that that doesn't impact this development. And we don't know what kind of tenants they'll be. Okay?
You have to come to the microphone again. I'm so sorry. Just for recording.
This is recording.
Yeah, she can't hear otherwise. Yeah, you're fine.
Maybe I should get more involved. Anyway, what was I going to say? Yeah, 13 truck bays. That sounds like a lot. I mean, I'm not a businessman, but it sounds like there's potential for a lot of truck traffic in and out all day long into the evening. So, I mean, that's our basic question. What are the limits?
Okay.
That's all the witness forms that I have received.
Okay.
Question to staff regarding the impervious surface rules. Can you say a little bit more about that? How does this fit with the existing
The
rules?
Village of Bartlett follows the DuPage County stormwater regulations. So they're very actually strict standards that basically say for as much impervious area with buildings and parking lots, you have to account for the water runoff in that area. So since they are adding more additions and adding more parking area, they have to add actually a detention area. So they will be adding a detention area along Devon, right in the front, and then they actually have underground storage in the front of, or the parking lot directly east of the current building. So that will be added in there as well. And
Similar to what CVS has with underground storage?
Jewel.
The Jewel has? I
Jewel,
thought CVS
yes.
had some. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the Japanese restaurant does.
Okay.
And a question, I don't understand where this truck traffic is that the homeowner was talking about.
I think the truck traffic that that gentleman was talking about is existing truck traffic of the gravel trucks that come through town, go down, they come up South Bartlett Road, they go east on Devon, and then continue east on Ontarioville Road out to the Elgin O'Hare. Those are county highways. Our village has asked the county to limit the weights of the truck traffic on those roads. The county is not going to do that, and those trucks find that route and cut through because they're bringing gravel from the west end of town and from the South Elgin Lafarge gravel pit and running it through this area to go to the Elgin O'Hare construction work that's being done east. So that
Thank you.
truck traffic is going to continue for some time.
Now I remember that this, I don't remember the reason why, but this discussion had come up before.
Right.
I think it was with the police department at one time, trying to reduce traffic on Devon.
Yeah,
by reducing the truck weights, and it's not legal.
Well, in response to those arguments and those discussions, we were able to limit the truck traffic or the truck weights on our local streets. But there are streets that obviously the village doesn't control, which are controlled by the counties or the state, and they have not done the same type of truck weight limiting on those streets, and they will not do that either.
Well, and if and when 390 ever gets extended and crosses Devon Avenue over in that way, you're going to have a lot more noise.
I'm not even going to go there because I won't be here when that's done. But you're right. There's a 390, Illinois 390 project that's on the books at IDOT that's a couple of years off, so.
But the first couple, the Lindstroms, is that right? You commented about trucks idling.
Right, see where the building is. Right on, if I can.
Wait, could you come up to the microphone when you're talking?
They will go right along the way, all the way down. Our homes are right here.
So the trucks are idling on Devon Avenue there. And that's when Main Steel was there?
They had to wait for the gate to open, so they were idling on the public right-of-way?
You know, 1, 2 in the morning, and sit all night.
Okay, well,
I think we would control that a little bit more now, wouldn't we?
And then during the day, we have, like they were saying earlier, with the trucks, the gravel trucks, accelerating and decelerating. Engine braking coming up to Devon, going westbound, and accelerating going eastbound. So you hear both paths. So it'd be like 24/7 you hear diesel trucks.
Believe me, I've lived in Bartlett for 56 years, and I can remember when all that was farmland, so there have been a lot of changes. No. Anyone else?
If there was a sound issue from trucks parking there in the future, isn't that something that could be addressed through the police and
Yes.
the village, the board?
Yeah, our Public Works Director has actually said if they need to, they will put no parking signs on Devon Avenue. So if it is an issue, let us know, because they do not want any trucks parking on there, which is why we tried to accommodate future parking on this lot as well, actually.
Code enforcement is a lot more than what it used to be.
Like the sign that's up there that says no engine braking on there. Stops them.
If you have problems, call the village on it. Anyone else?
With the addition of, to the building, will that enable maybe more trucks to be taken off the road so that they're not idling on Devon?
Well, the trucks that were idling on Devon, I believe, were when it was the main steel building, right? There's no trucks idling now. So it was the previous business that was here a long time ago. They're just saying they don't want to see that in the future, and what will the petitioner be doing to accommodate that?
Go ahead. You guys need to address that.
There is no gate, it's just the entrance.
Okay, that should solve a lot of it.
Well,
I mean, I think a lot of the truck activity and noise would be determined by the type of business that moves in there. And when you look back at a steel fabrication type business, you're going to see a lot of large trucks moving heavy loads.
Can I address some issues? I mean, can I see the laser, please, if you don't mind? So I just want to see, if it's going to be a four-tenant building, let's assume worst scenario, we have four-tenant building. Other things to the trucks, it will be in and out, so many trucks, just because the place is too small. If they have one tenant, you have plenty of space in the back, the truck should park. Anywhere you look at it, you got enough parking for the trucks, and other things, so there are many trucks, like the residents complain about parking on the van. Other things won't have that kind of issue. If they have, the whole building is rented to one tenant, you have, excuse me.
You're going the wrong way.
Nope.
Oh, I'm doing it?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Which one?
That's okay. There you go, the red one, in the middle.
I apologize.
There you
You have right there. If it's one tenant building, you got plenty parking right here, and I think you got plenty docks.
Could you talk about the docks, how they're interior docks? Could you talk about that a little bit, so it reduces the noise?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's halfway interior docks. They reduce the noise. I mean, actually, you got how many docks do we have altogether? 13 docks. I mean, you got way too many docks. I mean, I don't see no issue in the building. If I have any doubts in the building, we have enough parking for the trucks, I would never invest that kind of money and put that kind of detail in the building.
While it's not really part of the petition and the variance that we're looking at tonight, can you comment, though, on the fence on the west side of the property? What plans you have for that fence so that...
You talking about this fence right there?
Yes.
Well, we originally proposed a portion, 50% of the fence where the existing offset is at the building. There's an offset and encroachment of about 6 to 7 feet into his property. What we were proposing is to move that fence back in line with the existing fence, starting from the southwest corner and continue towards the back to give them a little bit more space for utilities, parking, and landscaping. And the existing the new fence would be a treated wood fence, 8 foot tall.
The existing fence is, sorry,
10 feet.
is actually 10 feet tall, and it's a solid fence, so that will stay from here all the way up. The new fence will just start right here where it cuts into their property, and that will be 8 feet, like he said, solid all the way back. Right now, it's like deteriorated a little back here, so they'll be fixing that fence.
But toward the front, it's not deteriorated?
No.
It's all right?
And they plan on, if there are any boards or anything, they'll fix them, but just the back portion, like he said, cuts into their property, unfortunately, and the parking lot back here.
Are there, on the west side of the building, I mean, there's got to be some exit doors. Are there any overhead doors? Any windows that open?
The only doors that we have is just the doors to meet the egress requirements. There are no overhead doors whatsoever. We do have a high windows, approximately located 30 feet or 25 feet above the floor. But besides that, there are no permanent openings or overhead doors.
Anyone else in the public? Further comments or motions from the board?
I'll make a motion to send a positive recommendation to the village board on 17-17, 802 East Devon Avenue.
Okay, at this point, we have a motion on the floor. I shall close the public hearing portion of the meeting.
This is for the, just to clarify, for the parking space reduction.
Correct. Any seconds?
Second.
I second the motion.
It's been moved by Bob, seconded actually by George before you got it, Joe. He said he seconded it. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Jennifer Rasmussen,
Yes.
Mike Werden,
Yes.
George Cosio,
Yes.
Joe Bano,
Yes.
Bob Vaccaro.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Stay in touch with Angela to find out when it appears on the village board agenda. And I guess next week is the plan commission?
Yeah, the Plan Commission is next Thursday, the same room, and we'll be talking more detail about the wetland and also the overall site plan. But if you'd like, you guys can stick around and talk to them in one of the back rooms or in the hallway if you'd like with the doors, if you had more questions for the petitioner or me.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is case number 1716, Home Depot Outlot 2. Are the petitioners present? We are. Please raise your right hands. Do you solemnly affirm the evidence you're about to give is only the whole truth? Okay, and do we have for the record the evidence of the mailings, the newspaper advertisement, and the picture of the sign?
Yes, we do.
Mark those exhibits A, B, and C. Please give your names and addresses.
Lawrence Friedman, 77 West Washington Street, Chicago.
Lynn Means with Gewalt Hamilton, 625 Forest Edge Drive in Vernon Hills.
David Mangurten, KMA and Associates, Inc., Architects, 1161 Lake Cook Road in Deerfield.
Okay, please present the case.
The applicant is proposing, the applicant is a contract purchaser of a portion of Lot 1 in the Home Depot subdivision, a portion of the Home Depot parking lot. It's proposing, and will appear before the Plan Commission next week, to subdivide off a commercial outlet and to also seek a conditional use permit for a drive-through at that time from the Plan Commission. We're before you tonight because as part of creating that new lot, we are requesting 3 setback variations, which I'll have David detail for you if you'd like. And we're also requesting a reduction in the number of parking spaces on the overall lot, including not just our new lot, but also the Home Depot lot. That's the nature of the reduction. Lynn Means is our traffic consultant, did a traffic study, and she can briefly summarize and will her findings on why we feel the parking variation is appropriate. So, David, if you can just briefly outline the proposal and talk about the setbacks we're requesting variation on.
I'd like to start with the location map for a minute. The whole concept is to take an underutilized corner of the Home Depot lot and create sales tax revenue property.
I like that.
That was the goal. That is the goal. So the concept is to build an 8,200 square foot building. And if you could go to the landscape plan, I think it's a more attractive looking plan, okay? The idea is to provide a 8,200 square foot multi-tenant building with a coffee shop drive-through and 3 additional tenant spaces. This would be a good view to kind of explain the the three setback variations, and then I'll let Lynn talk about the parking variations. So Route 59 is at the bottom of the picture of the plan, and that's the front yard. To the right is north, and that's a side yard. So we comply with those setbacks. We're seeking a reduction in the rear, which is the west, from 40 feet, I believe, to 30'8", or a reduction of 9'4". On the south side of the building, we're looking at a 14'6" reduction, and that's actually measured to the canopy, not to the actual brick and mortar. And we're looking for that reduction. Now, the last reduction is actually towards 59, where those kind of the panhandle of the property occurs. And we're seeking these as technical variations. I mean, we're talking about parking to parking, drive aisles to drive aisles. So there's no impact on residences, no impact on other businesses. And I'd like to clarify one thing that Larry said. Our property, our lot, is compliant with zoning. So the reduction is for the Lot 1, which is the Home Depot lot.
Yeah, the new lot will be parking compliant, but the remainder lot, which will then be Home Depot less the new lot, is where the variation will be sought.
So I'll turn it over to Lynn.
One thing, excuse me, I was remiss, we have a letter from the Forest Preserve that we should mark Exhibit D. They seem to be neutral on it and not have any objections. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just to briefly summarize, we did a traffic impacts and parking study for the Home Depot outlet to consider coffee shop as well as up to 3 additional retail tenants. We did peak hour traffic counts during the weekday and Saturday, as well as did a comprehensive parking count to assess what the current occupancy is during a weekday and as well as on a Saturday. We had the benefit of being able to do our observations during the peak sales month of the Home Depot, which is May. So we were able to do our parking counts when its activity was at its peak, when you had all of the seasonal storage out there in the parking facility, as well as you had peak customers coming in and out. And we also had good weather days where we had 80 degrees and 60-plus degree weather in May. And we found that during our peak time, which occurred on a Saturday, we had over 250 spaces still available. So there was more than half of the parking still available that was unoccupied. And with the area that's cut out for the new outlot, that would still leave a surplus of parking even during peak seasonal activity for the Home Depot. Again, I'm available to answer specific questions related to related to parking that you may have related to that variance, but we did find, based on our parking study, that there was more than adequate parking even during peak seasons to accommodate the reduction on the Home Depot site. And as noted, the outlot will have sufficient parking within the outlot created.
Now, staff, maybe you know the question or the answer. The Stearns Road intersection is going to be redone again, hopefully for the last time. Is that going to sabotage any of their plans here by eating up more of their land?
It will actually not eat up any more of their land, but it will impact the mobile gas station to the north of this property. Currently, there are 2 access points off of Route 59, and the one closest to the intersection will be closed, but the one closer to this lot 2 will still remain open. And then there will actually be a cross-access easement between the gas station and this lot as well, so they can easily get into this lot.
Another question, there are no plans, I presume, to widen 59 any wider at this point, right?
Not that we're
Nothing concrete? Reason I asked, back when that was a two-lane highway and Home Depot was first coming in, they made the comment that the state wanted all this extra right-of-way. He said, well, we'll go ahead and give you the right-of-way for your 4 lanes. You're gonna have to take it in court for when you go 6 lanes. So apparently there was talk at some point. Obviously, the state's in no condition financially to widen it to 6 lanes at this point. But I just wondered, you don't have any word on that?
Yeah, that intersection is gonna be 4, it's gonna be 4 lanes and turn lanes on each leg. So that portion that's associated with widening those corners and those turn lanes, that's all they're widening. They're not gonna do a straight 6-lane with it at all. There's no
Okay.
plan for it.
Okay. Okay. Now it looks like we're looking at the galaxy, right?
That's the picture we got.
Yeah.
Sorry. Do you want to explain it with the pointer? Here, it's the little red button.
So these plans are what IDOT is currently under contract to construct out there. So this is 59 north and south and Stearns Road east and west. So on both the northbound approaches of 59 and the southbound, there's going to be dual. So there's 2 left turn lanes on both the southbound and the northbound. And then in the throughs, there'll be 2 through lanes in both directions, as well as a right turn lane in both the north and the south. And that'll essentially be mirrored in both the eastbound and westbound directions of Stern Roads as well. So there'll be 2 left turn lanes, 2 through lanes, and a right turn lane. And as they mentioned, so there, with those 2 left turn lanes, there'll also be barrier median going across adjacent to them. So that's an additional benefit that you'll have. So essentially, the remaining access here of the mobile close to the intersection, as well as the northern one that's closed, the southern one here, they're going to be right in, right outs, even though there's not a whole lot of lefts coming in and out, but that's a safety improvement in that people will not be able to make those turns.
Okay. That area's had so many accidents over the years, but the intersection.
I have 2 questions. If you can put up the drawing that shows the parking.
For this site?
The landscape plan that,
This site or the other site?
The site plan would work. Oh.
is that helpful?
Okay. Is there currently any parking in the existing lot that goes as far east towards Route 59 now? And if so, is it actually the same area? Or is the lot coming east any further?
The parking field you see head into 59 is the exact same place.
Okay.
And it's striped, as I recall. Everything is, yeah.
I mean, I frequently go to Home Depot. It seems like during the spring season, I'm there every weekend. So I agree. I mean, during the time when their outside storage area was open, I never had any trouble parking on Saturdays or Sundays, running in to get, whatever landscaping I needed.
I have not either.
So I concur with the traffic and parking study that they're, with the new lot and the reduction in Lot 1, that there wouldn't be a problem. Relative to their traffic study and parking study that was done, has the village traffic and parking consultant looked at that and had any comments?
Yeah, our traffic consultant has actually already looked at their comments and reviews, and they actually concur that there will be sufficient parking left at the Home Depot and sufficient parking for this outlot as well, and with the movements of cars.
Okay.
fence still be blocking access back and forth between the mobile station and,
No, that will be opened up.
that will be opened up, okay.
Where the access will not be, they will keep the fence since it's not on their property, but they will open up that area.
Okay.
So obviously the southbound traffic would make a right turn in to the corner of the mobile station and slide into this area.
Correct.
And then the other access egress point is through the Home Depot parking lot.
Correct.
And that corner of the lot,
There's
you never see cars in.
There's a cross easement to the Sonic property too, that comes into our corner.
Okay. So this keeps traffic flowing a little bit better. They're not all stifled.
Well, I think it's a great improvement to an empty parking lot. And again, I don't see a parking issue.
Well, and I remember when we had the Home Depot zoning years ago before it was built, that was the anticipation that someday there would be outlots out there. So this is coming to fruition.
So this would pretty much finish the outlets as you currently envision?
We can't speak for Home Depot, it would seem probably, but we can't say, I mean, what their plans would be. But obviously, if they wanted to add any more, they'd have to go through the process and justify that it worked.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any further questions before we open it
Yes,
up to?
I see that there are 2 proposed additional parking spaces. Are those included in the 399, or are they additional?
There's 18 additional spaces, 7 on the north side of the building and 11 on the west side. And that's included.
It's included in the 399? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Further? Okay, now we'll open it up to the massive public. Anyone in the audience have anything to say? Wow. Any further discussion or motions?
I'd make a motion to pass along to the village trustees a positive recommendation to approve item 17-16, the Home Depot re-subdivision of Lot 1.
Okay, at this point, we shall close the public hearing portion. Motion on the floor to approve. Any second?
I'll second the motion.
Been moved by George, seconded by Joe to recommend approval. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mike Weirden,
Yes.
George Koziel,
Yes.
Joe Bano,
Yes.
Abacaro,
Yes.
Jennifer Rasmussen.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. We shall pass on a positive recommendation. Stay in touch with Angela to find out when it appears on the board agenda. Next item on the agenda, boy, I can't remember the last time I saw an agenda this long. Years, is case number 17-20, zoning ordinance updates. Chapters 5 and 3.
I do have the publication from the newspaper,
Okay?
marked as Exhibit A. This is going along with doing one chapter at a time of redoing our zoning ordinance. So we are now on Chapter 5, which is the OR Office Research District. We're following along the same terms of trying to use charts to make it easier to read and make sure you can understand setbacks and so forth. So we have condensed 6 pages down to 3 pages.
Wow.
So half, 50%. And then we are just making one slight change to Chapter 3, which is the definition section. Sorry, Chapter 3, which is accessory uses. And that is to change the commercial vehicles, just to restate that it's no longer in the subsection L, that it's in Chapter 4A, which was the last chapter we did on residential zoning.
Well, like the other ones, I like it. Makes it, I think, easier to find what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
You did a good job.
A lot of man hours in this.
The next chapter is going to be the rough one, the commercial section.
I have to compliment staff on being able to reduce all of that verbiage down to some easy-to-read and understand charts. I used to write user documentation and how-tos, and this kind of a change is a lot of work, and it's tough to get it right. So thank you for the effort. Job well done.
Thank you.
Yes, and you know from when we had the TIF district stuff, I'm very impressed with the staff and all the work they do anyway, so. Okay, so we're reducing it down to 3. Any other comments? Anything to point out? No? Any comments from the board? Any motions? Oh, we have to open it up to the public? Anyone in the public?
Cricket.
Yes. Oh, no. Any further discussion or motions? Need a motion.
I'd make a positive recommendation to the village trustees to approve zoning ordinance updates, chapters 5 and 3, and structures.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We shall close the public hearing portion. Any seconds?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by George, seconded by Jennifer to pass on a positive recommendation for case 1720 covering chapters 5 and 3. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
George Cosio,
Yes.
Joe Bano,
Yes.
Bob Carl,
Yes.
Jennifer Rasmussen,
Yes.
Mike Werden.
Yes. Okay, next item on the agenda, case number 17-10, zoning ordinance updates. Appears to cover chapters 13, 9, and 2.
Marked Exhibit A, once again, as the text amendment in the newspaper.
Okay,
And this text amendment would allow site plans, site plan amendments, and minor amendments to approved final PUD plans to be reviewed and approved administratively as part of the building permit application. It would still include our typical reviews from the different departments and could save approximately 3 months of review time from the current review process, which is actually shown up on the slide. Our proposed procedure would be cut pretty much in half. Thank you. And would not be going to any board or committee meetings. So if they had a site plan, which you don't normally see, it's normally a plan commission, and they have no other variations, they meet every other code, they're not looking for any special uses or anything, it would just go strictly to the building permit process.
okay, that is something that we have asked for even many times in the past. And I think this whole thing of streamlining things, I think that was ostensibly one of the reasons for proposing combining the Plan Commission and the Zoning Board, right? So now you're getting this codified for us, and we're not going to see little busy work stuff.
Correct.
Okay, I like that. Any further discussion?
Have you had an opportunity to get any comments from any developers or anybody who actually will be affected?
Yes, they are very excited about this. Most of the projects that actually come through for Brewster Creek or Blue Heron are just strict site plan reviews, and they have to go to 3 times, sometimes 4 different meetings. So they're excited that they can just submit directly for building permit, get their review comments, and go along, not have to attend any meetings.
I think anyone in touch with reality and an IQ over 10 would probably be ecstatic over it.
Just for the record, though, if they do have a variance request, they would still have to go through the regular process and come before you. So.
Okay, sounds good.
Can you give me a little example on how this will actually speed up the process?
Yeah, so right now, for a site plan, they start, and it's really hard to read, I'm sorry, it's in your, they start at they go through staff first, and normally do about 2 different reviews, so we get the review comments. Then they start the actual meeting process, which the first meeting is actually go to the village board committee meeting. They listen to the project and they forward it on.
Is that the committee of the whole?
Correct, yes, I'm sorry. The committee of the whole. They forward it on to the plan commission meeting, which is not a public hearing, it's just a regular meeting. Plan commission makes the recommendation, it goes back to the committee of the whole, and then they forward it on to the full board for a final vote. So you would eliminate all of these steps down here with this proposed text amendment. It would just strictly go through that staff review until it's ready for approval for their building permit.
Very good. And Jim, I take it you're excited?
Maybe. No, I think what epitomizes this the best is if you look on page 2 of Angela's memo, where you see those 13 cases, some of those all would have been reviewed in this shorter time frame and you know, built quicker and less having you come out or having the Plan Commission come out and having us come out all the time. And, you know, just like Acton Mobile, that's a good example. I mean, he decided he was going to make his building bigger, his addition bigger. So we went through it. He got approved. He started building it. He wanted to build it bigger. And then because of the original layout and the square footage, he had to go back through the whole process. And with this kind of thing,
Right.
you would have been able to just get a permit to build it bigger. So that's one quick example.
Another good example is the Hanover Township parking lot. They
Right.
wanted to literally add 6 parking stalls, and they
Right.
had to go through this process in order to do that.
Right. And the Little League storage shed for the baseball fields had to go through that process. And it's, you know, it's basically a big garage, so. So I think it'll help the staff, it'll help the village's image to get projects moving fast, even though we are moving some of these industrial buildings quickly through the process. And we've kind of did it with Brewster Creek in the original ordinance for Brewster Creek and eliminated some of the steps, but now this is gonna even do it for everything. So it'll be nice.
So if I understand this correctly, this allows, if you will, staff to make the decision and move it along if appropriate.
Well, that's a good way of putting it. And it's not just our staff. We involve the fire marshal with the fire district, our police department, our engineers, stormwater, everything. So it's not just us three, it's.
Right, that's what I meant by staff.
Yes.
It's the entire village.
Right.
That's only if they meet all the bulk regulations, and they do not require, like we said, any rezoning, no variances, no special uses.
So if everything is
Copacetic.
out of the ordinary, ordinary, it moves along very quickly now, the new way.
Right.
And you eliminate those 4 steps at the bottom, which can go on for ad nauseum. And that's a great thing. Terrific.
Very good. Okay, any further discussion or motions? Oh, wait, we need to open it up to the public? Now? Any further discussion or motions?
Make a motion to approve 1710, chapters 13, 9, and 2, and make a favorable recommendation.
Now we're going to have to close this wild and unruly public hearing portion. We have a motion on the floor to approve. Any seconds?
Okay, I second that.
Okay, Joe seconds it. Jennifer made the recommendation. Joe seconded it. Any further discussion? And this is for zoning ordinance 17-10, chapters 3, 9, and 2. Positive recommendation. Please call the roll.
George Koziel.
Yes.
Joe Vano.
Yes.
Vaccaro.
Yes.
Jennifer Rasmussen.
Yes.
Mike Weirden.
Yes. Very good. Hey, all positive, unanimous recommendations. I like that. Okay, Roman numeral 10, old business, new business.
I don't know if we have anything, and I don't know if we'll have a meeting next month.
So far, we're good, but
There's no variances, nobody proposing. There's a few projects in the mill, we don't know if they'll need variances at this stage. But there are no set fences or anything, so probably get a month off.
Kind of like the Cubs, get all of our runs in one night. And can't do anything the next day.
Exactly.
And I propose that we get heat in here.
It's chilly.
I thought it was very comfortable tonight. This is great.
In keeping with the fact that we haven't had anything as large as this.
Yeah.
It's amazing that the refrigeration is working so well tonight.
Yeah.
I was afraid we'd have a lot of hot air.
Right, right.
Just put in a little plug for what's going on this weekend with Heritage Day, support the village, and since the village board still is having the trolley rides on Sunday, I'm a docent at the 2 o'clock one, so come on board. Following weekend is the Historical Society Cemetery Walk. We have a lot of people who have taken out ads for it, even our village attorney. So I hope to see everybody there. Anything else? Any motions to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by George.
Second.
Seconded by Jennifer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any idiots opposed? Okay, motion passed.